Welcome, welcome. This is, I am tired of this scrap. I play a lot of different games. I mostly like city builders, like City Skylines. I haven't played City Skylines 2. I have no intention to. It's not rated very highly. I like city building games. I like strategy games. So, I thought I would play City Skylines. Well, I didn't start. I continued a game I was playing earlier, and then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna start a new game, and let's record it. See how far we get. I'm not particularly good, but it should be a relaxing game, right? I have a couple of DLC. I don't have very many of them. There's some that I really like, and some I'm just not interested in, and that's about how it goes. We've got these extra maps here from some of the DLC I own, but let's play something fairly straightforward. Let's get something with a river. I tried Sandy Beach once. It was kind of tough. Nowhere to get rid of your waste. It was not easy. 2 rivers, that looks about right, yeah. How about a name? Oh, Paulette, that's the young mayor in My Tetsu. If you've ever heard of or played My Tetsu, it's available on Steam. It's cute. I like it. I'm gonna turn down the, I don't know if these guys are going to, copyright claim these videos, based on the music like they did with Asuka. We'll just give it a shot, see where it goes. Change the music over to something else. I have my father's music, of course. First things first, you have to build a little bit of road to get access to other roads. Okay, got some stuff going on. Might be able to build some, I mean, it's kind of cliff-like. Thinking we could build some houses along the shore, but with this bluff here, I don't know. I imagine we're in floodplains, technically speaking. Middle mouse button, yeah. Don't need to know any of that stuff. Let's build like a main street. We want 2 lanes, both directions. Got the snap on. I don't know, I guess that's for the freeway just below us. It's trying to snap to something that it finds on the freeway. I don't mind that. I'm going to extend it just a bit, but I think that's pretty straight. Yeah? We want pretty straight. Let's not do a 2-lane road. We don't want that. We'll have a 1-way road leaving the freeway. And, no. I want to make it look at least decently aesthetic. Like I said, I'm not particularly good at this. Oh, come on. Let's see what we can get going this direction. Great, and then we'll just flip it. We will want this to be 1-way in here, but we can't make a 2-lane road 1-way yet, so that's not an option. We want some neighborhoods off of the street. Not 1-way roads. Since it's going to be a neighborhood, wide sidewalks are preferable. This, of course, makes it so that cars can't park on the street. So let's first of all, that's about right. Nope, one more. An undo button, because that cost us money. So we want one beyond that. Great. And this will be like our storefronts here. And then behind that we will have our houses. And stores and houses, basically they can go back 4 squares for a full building. So 4 squares looks about right. Neighborhoods on the back side, we'll just fill that. That's our start. We're going to need some industrial zone. Come down here. We don't have infinite money at the start. So just enough so we can get our power plant going. Move that away from the road just a little bit. We might want to extend the road. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. You know, like I said, I'm not particularly good at this. None of my cities look like the spectacular stuff you see online. We'll just put this a little bit downstream. Connect that up. Connect up the city. I like to have my water underneath the roads, even though it's completely irrelevant. We have water, we have sewage, we have electricity. We need, however, to attach the electricity to the water pumping station. Treatment, and of course to our buildings that will be built early. That should be good enough. As long as it can get across the street, that should be good enough. We have 28,000 left. We can start building our neighborhoods back here. About right, it is. Good. All right, perfect. We'll extend this out here. And we will put neighborhoods here. I think that's a good start. We've got buildings. Ooh, I want to build that. 20,000 is plenty. Let's do it. Pause. Pause. That way we can have a little bit of industrial zone when it's time to build industrial. Maybe this should be like our... No, they're already building. We will worry about our main street later. Right now, of course, we're just trying to get our people moved in. Yeah, a little house. That's a cool little house. Sheffield with it, so there's nobody here yet. How's that building doing? I don't know. I don't care. May have burned down to the ground. Stupid Sheffields. Since this is our industrial zone, we'll have to put commercial here because we don't want it too close to the residential zone because there's pollution. You can see pollution. No, we can't see pollution. It's one of these. That's the one. We haven't unlocked it yet. So the houses are being built magically, but people haven't moved in yet. We have no cars that have come into the city yet. So ask me how that's possible. I don't know, man. Invisible ghost people. Got invisible ghost people living in town. Sally's gas station, I think. What's really funny is the gas stations start disappearing as the game goes on, so we'll make that historical because cities gotta have a gas station. Making it historical, of course, to make it so that it never changes even when it levels up. It keeps the gas station aesthetic. Aha! We've got a donut shop. So we can make that L Donuts. If the town doesn't have an L Donuts, it will fail. So we've got to make sure there's an L Donuts. And that's our L Donuts. So long as L Donuts stands, the city shall stand. If L Donuts falls, the city shall fall. That's how it works, right? Nobody's moved in yet. Invisible ghost people. Working in L Donuts. Maybe one of these guys. No? Nobody? There's somebody. Ooh, look at that. Somebody's coming in. Where are they going? Ore truck. They're delivering power to the coal plant. we can actually lower. Where's our budget? Let's lower it down. We don't need to be powering everything right now. There's not enough people. The power's fine. The water's fine. So we'll lower that down. Coal truck. First thing is the coal truck. There's somebody. A sedan. The Sterling residence. People are moving in! The ghosts! No, the ghosts have nowhere to go! What? Oh, you know what? We got it! We got it! Sewage treatment. Water drain pipe. What are you complaining for? Oh, well, okay. It just needed to be turned on. Just a mayor. I don't run anything. People are already walking down the street. Visiting their friends. I'm not gonna pay too much attention to the topography. There's like a hill here. I mean, some people are like really like clever in how they like wind their houses around and stuff. I'm not that clever. I suck. I think we can tear this down. Because once it's connected, like, magically, you don't need the power plant stuff anymore. Don't ask me how that works. I'm gonna extend this out. Let's pause it, because we're gonna break stuff here. Huh. Didn't build it right. Did I tell you I suck at this? like a zoned building and store. We already did that. We got our donuts. Mentioned before, I was an environmental scientist for years. Thinking going back to it, I was at the California wildfires. Therefore, looking for lead and arsenic in the soil from the houses. I ended up. They didn't really need us there when we showed up. It was kind of a really weird situation. The Army Corps of Engineers, before we even got there, decided that there was too many properties to do all the environmental work on. So they put me on a team of asbestos cleanup. I didn't do any asbestos cleanup. I was there mostly to monitor people. So it was weird. I talked to my manager one day and I said, this isn't really environmental science too much. She says, but you're doing environmental science. You're doing environmental science right now. And I'm like, yeah, it's not what's going on. Money was good, but it was only tangentially related to environmental science. But, I mean, I was there. They were doing asbestos cleanup. I was monitoring. I was making sure people were being safe. I went to site. People were cleaning up asbestos. Had to get HAZWOPER training. I don't know if anybody has ever done HAZWOPER training that's listening in, all four of you. But I had 40-hour HAZWOPER training before I went out to California, worked out the California wildfires. Never had to get into a monkey suit. But I was next to the guys that had to get into the monkey suits, and I had to know all of the safety stuff because they were working on it. So it was pretty important that I be trained. People are wanting to move in. Aha, Little Hamlet. Landfill, medical clinic, and elementary school. So two of these things are really important. Landfill, first of all, that's like pretty vital. I don't want to get it too close to the edge there because that way I need to be able to move my road that way. Medical center. We need like a town center. Well, we're gonna move these people out. Sorry, folks. This will be our main street, so this will be Main Street. Priority Road, Main Street. Let's keep those lights there. Don't want lights there, so let's work on the junctions. Junctions. So we don't want a light there. Perfect. Perfect. We do want a light there because it's two main road intersections. We want a light there because we want to make sure people don't get too bogged down at that intersection. Trying to get into the city. So, we can move Main Street up. We will use an intersection coming up here to be our center street. So let's plan out two. Yep. Right. And then this will be our center street. Center Street. So we have the corner of Center Street and Main. Still want neighborhoods back here, yeah? don't want, I don't want too many connections. Let's get rid of this one. I don't want people driving fast in the neighborhoods. This is an actual tactic used by city builder people that are better than me. Make neighborhoods so that they are. You want to slow cars down in a neighborhood. You don't want everybody just driving through lickety split. And so you don't want too many straight roads like this. Because straight roads encourage people to drive fast. You want straight roads on the main thoroughfares. This is a main thoroughfare, so let's build some shops along the main thoroughfare. You can have neighborhoods behind the shops. Looks like a nice neighborhood. I might actually delete these. Oh, that's not right. That's not right. There we go. No! I'm planning something and I suck at it. Like, is that building 3 wide or 4? I think it's only 4. I mean, I think it's only 3. We have room to put that house in there. Yeah. That might be our fault. Our people are starting to run out of electricity, so let's bump that back up to 100. We'll just start paying for stuff, right? Have a real town being built. Not good? What? These people out of electricity, there's plenty. Look at that. Jerks. Jerks! Confusing me. Oh, no, well, that's why. Let's do it to 75. Right? There, stop complaining. Yeah, a little neighborhood. Stephanie Street. Oh, Stephanie lives on Stephanie Street. Raymond Ward Street. That's not good. Something get turned off? I have a feeling it's just an electrical problem because we lowered the electricity down. Let's start planning a neighborhood this way. Do we want this to be wide? Like 2 main streets? Let's let somebody expand that way. Yeah! We don't suck. Okay, so we want some services. We've got that. What else we got? We want this near the center of town, right? So this is Center Street in Maine. We want people to be able to go there. We need an elementary school. Let's build a neighborhood out this way and start an elementary school around here. Doesn't need to be a major street. We're already running out of cash. I hate how this doesn't quite line up the street. Whatever. See, there's no way to get it right on the street. It's either one high or one low. Frustrating. That's crazy. That's crazy, I tell you. Yeah, do the best we can with what we got. There's complaints. It's not my fault, it's yours. Be out of cash. We'll just take another kind of copy this one over on the other side. Right. Should we take out a loan? Yep. As well, right? So let us finish our neighborhood here. Degrees, looks about right. Oh well. I'm not perfect. Looks like too many neighborhoods in the U.S. Doing that wrong. That's good. That's good. We want that. We want that. This needs to be that. Right? We already established that we don't want houses across the street from the industrial park. That's good. That's good. Let's build our elementary school a little back away from the main street. Kids being hit by cars. Can we build? We can. No parks there. Fine. I don't want any that's not right. I don't want any commercial districts or that looks dumb. That looks dumb. I don't want any commercial districts next to the trash pile. So we'll put some industrial there. Make it across the streets to the commercial. Little corner store right there. So I do my previous job before I went out to California and did the California wildfire stuff. I would do phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site reports. So my job, so way back, 1965, there was a company that sold land in a place called Love Canal. It's near, it's up by Niagara Falls, New York. So they had this land since like 1910 until like 1965, where they were making chemicals. And they took the chemicals when they were done and just dumped it at the site, right? And so decades of dumping chemical waste nearby built up in this area of Love Canal. And in 1965, they closed shop and then they sold the property. So who bought the property? An elementary school and a neighborhood. No joke. Like the worst possible choices. Elementary school and neighborhood gets built on top of this site where they had been dumping chemicals for decades. And people started getting sick. People started getting leukemia, cancer, all sorts of health issues. So they sued the company that sold them the property for making them sick. And the company said, we didn't do anything illegal. And unfortunately, they were correct. There was nothing illegal about what they had done. There were no real environmental laws back in 1965, or especially not in 1910, to prevent them from just dumping whatever they wanted wherever they wanted. And so people were getting sick, and they sued the company, and it was in court for like 10 years. And finally, the company that was dumping chemicals was ordered to pay for the medical expenses of these people after years and years and years in court. And they got them on negligence. So there were no environmental laws, they got them on negligence. So after that, Congress met and they said, we don't want another love canal in this country. And so they decided what they were going to do was establish a worthy village. Look at that, we can have a police department, a fire department. So we want near the center of town, we want our stuff like the police department, fire department, all that stuff. So we've got a medical clinic. Fire department, that's good. We don't need to offset it by one because it's already the widest road possible. So we'll just put that down. We'll put that down. I think we can make, no, we can't yet. Is that all we can make? Yeah, let's check these. They're okay. Let's improve our budget on those though, because we don't want to run out of electricity and we don't want to run out of water. We're starting to get close, but we're making enough money that we can bump this up. It's only $800 a month, so increasing that's not going to be bad. So Congress didn't want another love canal, and so they passed environmental laws, and in the most capitalist way possible, they decided that if you buy property, you own the contamination. That's how they would handle it. And so there were lawsuits all over, losing money, that's okay. It'll come back. We did not. Did we do? We did. So this is ready to go. In the most capitalist way possible, they declared that if you buy property that's contaminated, you own the contamination. So any problems with contamination are on you. No parks yet. Okay. Build parks later. So places were getting sued left, right, and center. And the problem is you're not going to sue. So they brought in a bunch of geologists, right? So who knows anything about ground and whether something is always like smoke detector policy. It just makes sense. They were hiring geologists because who knows more about soil and groundwater than geologists? And the geologists were doing the best they could, but there was no historical records, really, of contaminated sites. It was difficult for people to know what was being left behind where. And so the geologists were really doing the best job they could with the limited information they had. But there was not a whole lot that they could do. And so when you found contamination on a site and a geologist had made you a report, you're not going to sue the geologist because the geologist doesn't have any money, right? There's no point going after the geologist, he's broke. You might be able to sue the person who sold the property to you, but they had already established that if you buy property, it's your fault. So really the only people they could sue that had any money were the banks. So what they did was they went after the banks and told the banks, you sold us, you gave us a loan for this property, and it was contaminated. So you shouldn't have given me a loan for the property without checking the site first to make sure it was safe. We're really losing money. That's okay. We like losing money. There's an achievement if you lose a lot of money. So it's good. Yes, I'm saying let's lose money. Did we... Let's add sidewalks to this. A couple of houses got demolished. Oh well. So the banks went back to Congress and they were like, we gotta do something. We're getting eaten alive. Everybody is suing us. We're losing money on our investments. So Congress went back and they created what's called the Innocent Landowner Defense. And what they decided was, if you did your due diligence in order to try and see if there was contamination at a site, and it turned out that there was contamination there that you didn't know about, if you had done your due diligence and followed all the steps that you were supposed to follow in determining if there was contamination, then you were innocent of that contamination. So that saved the banks as long as they followed the right steps and procedures. So they handed it to the EPA to decide what those steps were. And the EPA made what's called the Phase 1 site assessment and a Phase 2 site assessment to determine if there's contamination at a site. Phase 1 is you look through the historical records, you try and find out if there's anything that you can see on a site that may be a problem. You write up a report, you hand it to the company, and it's out of your hands. At that point in time, it's up to the company what they're going to do with the information. So if you say, like in your report, we looked at the historical records, we found a high probability that there's contamination at this site, it's entirely up to the company what to do with that. They can still buy the property if they want to, but then they have to deal with whatever contamination they find, right? It's up to them. And so the rules that they came up with, which were established by the EPA, the Phase 1 includes going through phone records, phone books. So what they do is phone books go all the way back to like 1920. And so, ooh, look at that. Nope, that's not that. They're putting on fire. Hey guys, fire truck. So, save that guy's house. He's okay. So you look through old phone books, and you look at what was on the site, and you cannot believe back in 1920, 1930, 1940, people would have like a shoe store in their front yard. You know, it would be a residential property, but it would be like Joe's shoe store. It would be like, I don't know, Pizza Plumbing Supply Center or something like that, run out of their garage, like literally. And so people were running businesses in their houses, so there was no need for people to walk from like this site here all the way down here to go shopping, right? Because your next door neighbor could have a shoe shop in his front yard. There were Mexican restaurants down the street. There were people baking bread. There were people, and it's not every residence, obviously, right? Like, the grand majority of neighborhoods is just residences. It's getting awful. Again. I'm thinking it's maybe 35. Let's try that. Because that's getting awful. So, not every site, obviously, was a shop, but people were running restaurants, people were running cobbler shops, shoe stores, stuff like that right out of their neighborhoods. And cities were planned much better. People were able to get the materials they needed by walking. Nobody needed to own a car if they didn't want to. And then we changed all of that as we began building freeways. And it's after World War II. You can literally see the difference. We began zoning laws, and we began deciding that you can't have a store in your front yard anymore. You can't run a cobbler shop out of your garage. You can't add an attachment to your house where you're selling shoes, right? You have to separate everything into different zones. Residential only, commercial only, industrial only. Now the industrial makes sense because you don't want, people making chemistry next door to your house. I mean, some of that can be pretty dangerous and awful. But the rest of that stuff is really not good. Because it meant that there was less options for people without a car. Let's flip this on its mirror axis. Like that. Right? Axis. I haven't got that set up, so let's do that. Okay. I know that this is not going to be a neighborhood, but maybe we can make it look at least decent. Because I don't want stuff there next to the industrial. Let's do that. And we'll have a couple corner stores. Let's turn that into it's far enough away. So, I don't want that whole thing. Guide. That's what I want. We used to know how to build cities, is what I'm trying to say. We used to know how to build walkable cities. It's so ludicrous that in the pursuit of designating where everything has to go in its own little place, we've made it so that cities, you have to own a car to get around. That's not good. So this isn't bad. We're losing money, but we might be able to get. There's one of these buildings that they give you when you lose too much money. It's great. So, there's the phone book records. The other one that we have is in the United States. We have aerial photography. As soon as planes were invented, we began taking pictures of the ground. We began flying planes over cities and taking pictures every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? So they did that for map making, of course, you know, but they also did it for things like city planning and for military records and things like that. They wanted all of this data. You know, there's nothing wrong with data. It's pretty good. We have the parks update DLC, so I may make a park. The first thing we gotta do is sacrifice some people's homes for parks. So we're going to let's find a dog parks are good. We like dog parks. Dog park right there. Purple trees, this is big, so that's like, yeah. We'll decide that later. Large playground, small playground. Where's the small playground? Small playground. So building up some houses here. Access to a small playground. Let's demolish as few houses as we can. Looks like we can get away with just those. Right. So aerial photographs are really cool. You get to see the changes that are made, and because it's my job, I'm getting paid. Building has leveled up. Oh yeah, residents because they're near parks, they have access to resources. Look at there. There's some money still. So I was paid to go through all these old photographs and look at the changes that are made to a city over the last, 85 years. Do we want to buy? I like that lake. I like access to the freeway, but I also like that lake. Maybe we'll buy these four eventually, right? Because that'll give us access to that interchange. The lake looks cool. We can build some houses along the lake. I like it. Let's buy that. Oh, yeah. So now we can build houses along the lake. We can have our rich people live out here. Alright. We're getting good. So yeah, looking at the changes that are made to cities where you used to have farmland and you're building buildings and all of these. So I've seen like the changes we've made over the years. They used to just have rows of houses like this for just generations. And then in the 1970s, 80s, 90s especially, they began moving toward this kind of design for housing. And that's because, again, you want to slow down traffic. You want people to be able to... I've never, ever successfully made a decent-looking canal. It always comes out looking like absolute trash. Like, trash-level trash. So, yeah, we're not going to mess with that. So I suck at building cities, but I knew what they look like. It's part of my job. So I would go through and I would look at like all of these different buildings being built on a site, and sometimes you could identify them, sometimes you couldn't. That's where the phone directories come in. And there were a lot of like neighborhoods that had gas station, on the corner and stuff like that. And those get flagged because gas stations are often really messy. They often have leaks, especially before 1990. And so we report all that. and then, you know, hope that the company that we report all of this information to does the right thing. But, you know, it's up to them. We want to build a park. Parks are big. Parks are like this big. They take up massive amount of real estate. They look really cool. We're not building a park, bro. So in addition to all the contamination and crap that I've seen over the years, I also got an idea of how cities have been built over time. Can we build? Still can't build a one-way, two-lane street or four-lane street. Just that one. I have an idea of what the functions are. Yep. No, we don't. There we go. There, that's good. Do not want. That's good. Do not want. Quays! I build a lot of quays because that gives you access to more beachfront. Alright, we're gonna have to build another neighborhood. Let's have this be a street where parking can occur. Right? Because people need somewhere to park. We will get parking. I love Japanese gardens. They look great. I don't remember which one it is. This parks. Parking. There we go. That's parking. So we've got shops here, right? Shops here. Yeah. GameStop. Oh, I like the gentle. Yeah. See too many cities in that time. Now the street's going uphill. That's the thing that happens. We build look at our money, it's just tanking. Nice! Let's get it down to the negatives. Pay that off. We'll never pay that off. So since we have shops there, maybe we could build parking around here. I want a bigger firehouse and a bigger police station here. Medical clinic, I want the hospital here. Nothing's gonna go there, we've already built that road. That's fine. So let's build that a little bit away from there because we are going to want a bigger police station there eventually. So that's good. Now people have parking. And it'll look good as the city grows around it. We'll do the same down here. But this isn't a major I mean, it's a wide road, but it's not a major road, right? So, the traffic that's going to come off of here is going to be going one way eventually. And it's going to be limited to the people coming off the freeway trying to get into the city. So, having, like, parking is a little awkward. We have shops here, yeah? Yep, shops. So let's build a small parking thing. Netflix lane. Should have flattened it before I put that down. Open it now. Like I said, I'm not particularly good at this game. Losing money pretty well. That's good. We want to get that achievement. Check. like, we don't need this yet. Golly, we need so many people housing. What else? We have farming we can put up here, I think. Yeah. Resources, yeah, farming. Fertile land for farming. So let's put a farm up there. We're gonna need a lot more money than we've got. Electricity is good, water is good. So let's run out of money in order to get the achievement so that we can build that building that requires us to have no money. And then we'll either take out a loan or we'll increase the taxes. But we'll do that after we've lost sufficient money. I don't know how much it takes. How's the future? Construct countdown clock. Enter market. Chirp X launch site. Traffic park. Public transport has 5,500 weekly passengers. Boat museum. Locomotive halls. Statue of Industry, 10,000 squares of industrial zone. Statue of Wealth. This is, have more than 500,000 money. Lazarus Plaza. Doesn't say. This is off-keeping cost. Statue of Shopping. Plaza of the Dead. This is if you have too many dead people. Oh, fill 3 cemeteries. City Arch. Build a park. Area gate. Doing good. Fountain of Life and Death. I think this one is lifespan lived in the city. Oh, if you live an entire human's lifespan in the city. 10,000 squares of residential, public transport, 1,000 weekly passengers, average garbage piling per building at least 25, 6 posh mall, all tax rates at most 4%, sightseeing bus depot. We can't look at the other ones. So we're going to get to the point where we get some of these, one of them is have negative bank balance, but I don't know how much it's set for. So let's go to negative 5,000, thereabouts, in our city of Paulette. It's going to take a few minutes. So yeah, phase 2 site assessments, of course, are if you tell a client that you believe that there's contamination on a site, then they'll come back. I know, grow the city. Yeah. If you tell them there's possible contamination at a site and they decide that they want to confirm that there's contamination there, and that involves drilling. We go get what's called the geoprobe. Company hires it, of course. I didn't do much with that. The owner of the company would have a team of guys that he was familiar with, friendly with, and he would contact them. I would set up the appointed day by calling the client, and I would say, what day can we come in and do drilling? And then they would set up a time with the buyer, and then we would contact the geoprobe, and based on, what days were available, we would get one of like 3 different teams for the geoprobe. We're making money. I hope negative 2,000 is enough. We're making money. Let's take out our loan, pay off that loan. We'll need both. And then, what building? Oh, it's the park building. Yeah. Let's build. I want it separated. Let's build it on this corner, right? That is the high school, and then we will build the library next to the Loop! I could get it right on there, but I can't. Thank you very much, game. Crazy. Put it on the main road. Right? Walk around. Gotta build this quick before we run out of money. We're surviving. especially out here. Alright, taxes. We're still losing money. Not enough educated work as well. We have a public library. And we have a high school. We have an elementary school. What is our name of... Okay, Mill Heights. So, first of all, this should be the name of our city. It's Paulette, right? Named after the girl in... My Tetsu. So this is Paulette High. Paulette Elementary. We should leave this here for shops. Because that's on Main Street, right? It's Japanese thing. Yeah, so on the main street, we got the shops. So yeah, phase 2, we do drilling. That's where the geoprobe goes in, and I would map out based on the overhead photographs that we would get from Google Maps. And you just plot out where you're going to drill the holes, and then you show up on site on the day of, and geoprobe is not like major equipment, so you don't need like special hard hat or anything like that. You gotta worry about the weather, of course. You know, it could be cold, it could be hot. I almost passed out on site because it was so hot. Oh my gosh, it was just ridiculous. And sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere, and they're doing the drilling on a site, and you are like 20 minutes from town. So you'll sit there and you'll be chatting it up with the geoprobe guys, because it's just you and the geoprobe guys. And you're chatting around and stuff like that, and you're like, you know what, guys? I gotta go to the bathroom. And so you get in your car, you drive for 20 minutes, go to the bathroom and drive back. It's just so silly. But, you know, nature calls. I'm not gonna pee on the side of the road. I mean, some of these sites are like major thoroughfares, even though there's nothing going on. You know, there's oftentimes, because you know you've got roads, nobody's gonna build a warehouse or a factory, or even sometimes we'll do like an apartment complex in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, there's nothing out here. Who's building an apartment complex? But that's because, you know, they're anticipating growth in the area, so they're building an apartment complex. So you could be 20 minutes away from the nearest gas station, but there might be a few houses around in the area or something like that. So you're not going to pee on the side of the road. You're not in the middle of the jungle. You're not in the middle of the desert. You're not in the middle of a forest. You got to get in the car and drive. And then you come back and you chat with the guys, and you're just sitting there, and then after so long they come up to you and they're like, well, we got the first sample, and you go over, and it's really cool because they bring this plastic tube. It's like a giant straw, like a drinking straw, and what they do is the geoprobe pushes that into the ground. Teflon coated underwear. Who would want Teflon coated underwear? They push it into the ground like a straw, and then they cap the top. And just like when you have a straw in a drink and you put your thumb on the top of the straw and you can pull up your drink, right? Because you you've got air pressure, and it can't get rid of that air, so the fluid can't fall down. So that's what they do with the soil. So they just stick the straw in, they cap off the top, and they pull up the soil. And then they bring you this tube, and they have their box cutter, and they just cut along the tube on both sides and then peel it back, and you've got the layer of that soil. And it's really cool to get that, because you can look at like all of the different, as a geologist it's really fun because you can look at all of the different soils that have been in the area. We are really losing money. Nothing we can do, we just gotta sit here and wait it out. Maybe when our loans are paid off. Come on. Sit here and wait for 40 hours as our money goes down. How's our electricity? Good. How's our water? Good. Let's lower the water budget. Let's save a couple of bucks. So you get to see all the different layers, and you get to see where, you know, there was an inland lake in the area here, and you can see the history of that lake filling up and lowering over time as the sediment gets lighter or heavier, because the deeper the water is, the further sediment has to travel in order to drop out of the water. So only the lightest sediments make it out. And we've lowered it too much, so let's put that back up to 70. See if that works. Yep, that works. We're really losing cash. How many people can we pack in right here on that road? Is that a rock? It is a rock. I'm gonna leave that rock right where it is. Let people live near the rock. Hopefully by bringing more people in, we'll have a chance to save our city from... There's water. Let's go there. People, maybe we'll be able to... We're not building a park, okay? So shove it. So you're able to see the geology, but what you're there for, of course, is the contamination. And I was at one site where there were 3 dry cleaners in the area, and we didn't find any contamination. I was shocked. Like, I was certain that there was going to be tons of tetrachloroethylene on the site, but we didn't find any. And so we went to the people that wanted to buy the property, and we're like, we didn't find anything. We thought there would be tetrachloroethylene on the site, and you'd be cleaning it up for 5 years, but we didn't find anything. And I drove by that site later, and they never bought the property. They decided not to. So silly. They paid all this money to us first for the phase 1 site assessment, and then they paid for the phase 2, which isn't just paying us. You also have to pay the chemical company, because when we find, well, even if we don't find anything, we have to take soil samples and send them to the lab, and the lab costs money. It's a chemistry lab, and that's not cheap. That's thousands of dollars of chemistry. And so we went to send it off to the chemistry lab, and they get negative. You know, that's what they want, right? They want to be able to build their building without worrying about contamination. And so they get out there, and no contamination, and they decided not to buy the property. So they must have spent $10,000 in gathering this information and then not using it. But, you know, things change. You know, they make decisions based on, you know, market values and stuff like that. And just because a site isn't contaminated doesn't mean it's useful for what they wanted to do. And maybe they talked to the big wigs on top, and maybe they decided they just didn't want to incur the cost at that particular site, or maybe interest rates changed or something, who knows. Lots of different reasons why they might decide they don't want to bother with the site any longer. Can we build another pathway right there? We can't. Weekly income is -22. So we're surviving. It's going back up. -6. We're about on top of the world, baby. And then we'll start making money to pay off our debt. That'll be great. Maybe we'll pay it off in the meantime. How long do we have before these loans expire? 39 weeks. Be a while. Whole year. We're on year 2026. We've been doing this for a year. So yeah, you'll see these people pay all this money for chemistry and reports that they don't even use. Not up to me. Of course, it beats the times that I've done a report, like do a bunch of do a phase 1 and high probability of contamination at a site, and they build on the site anyway without ever doing a phase 2. At least not a phase 2 through us. We could have their own. I think that's the one that's most necessary. We do nothing but wait. Oh, look at that! We're making 1,000. That cleared up. That cleared up. Good, good, good. People have water. We're making 1,000 money. Dollars, is it? Monies. What was that game back in the early 2000s where it was monies? M-O-N-I-E-S. Monies. And you'd have like 100 monies, and you'd have 1,000 monies, and you'd have 1 million monies. It was just hilarious. Monies. Yeah. Fun stuff. I like this house. That's a cool looking house. Look at that. The poplar residence. Cool house. Got a satellite dish. Who watches satellite these days? So yeah, I would send reports in that would just get ignored. I was at a site once where this guy definitely wanted to sell his property. He didn't want any trouble. So I went on the property. It was a cattle ranch, and it was a cattle ranch going back like 5 million years. You know, this thing was cattle ranch to the 1860s, I think. But the photographs don't go back that far. We have insurance. Sometimes, not very often, you'd have insurance maps. Those were made, the fire insurance maps, those were made back in like 1880, 1890, 1900, these fire insurance maps. Sometimes you'd be able to get your hands on those. A lot of times, though, when you would look up a site, and we would pay for the insurance, the fire insurance maps, and we would get back that there's no fire insurance maps for that zone. But sometimes in the hearts of the old cities, like when you were at a really old site, there might be fire insurance maps for some of these, and it would tell you where residential zones were, it would tell you where businesses were, and all of that was for if something burned down. For fire insurance purposes, you'd need to know what was at the site. I wonder when we'll be able to move this further down the river. I didn't want to put it too far away because at the beginning of the game you don't have a lot of money, as you can tell. So these old fire insurance maps, they were pretty fun. They were pretty cool. Didn't get very many of them. Outside of the heart of a city, though, you wouldn't have any because, you know, growth hadn't happened yet. So at this cattle ranch, which was near the airport, and I don't know how the cows put up with planes flying overhead all day, but it was near the airport, which is outside the city, built there you know, back in the 60s, 70s, or whatever, because it was far enough away that people wouldn't have to. I mean, you have to drive to it, but people wouldn't have to put up with the planes, and they could grow the airport as much as they wanted. So just getting invested. So some poor slobs in there. And so I'm at this site, and you know, it's a cattle ranch. I'm walking around, and at the entrance, so there's a gate, and I open the gate, and I meet the guy that's there to meet me. He knows when I'm coming, and I show up, and I greet him, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And he's like, "Great." You know, don't stare at the cows, because as long as you don't make eye contact, they should be fine. They're used to people, so just don't make eye contact. Walk around, do your job. So I walked the site, which is required, on the interior of the fence, even though part of it was like a pond. And it wasn't a pond. What it was it had rained and it had filled in. So calling it a pond is a joke. Okay, we can finally build this out here. So at the entrance though, he had like these big giant, what's it called? He had these, just coming out straight. Yeah, that's great. Build our houses here. He had these, let's get rid of this house. Sorry, but I'm not using the space wisely. Somebody building there? Let's turn that off. I think we can get a better house out of that. Let's go to park. Right there, and then put the neighborhood around it. So I'm walking the area, but at the entrance he's got these tanks, and he's got 4 different tanks, and they're different. Like one of them is like a big metal tank, one of them is a smaller plastic tank, and 2 of them are like square tanks. And I asked him about it. I'm like, what are in those tanks? Because I have to know. And he's like, oh, it's just water and he said pesticides. And so I put that in my report, but giant tank for pesticide on a ranch? What are you pesticiding on a ranch? So I have suspicions that he was probably putting fuel in those. He was, you know, he's got his farm equipment. He's probably filling those up with diesel fuel for his tractor or for his equipment. And he doesn't want to tell me he's putting fuel in there. So he just says water and, you know. I mean, it's on him. If he's not truthful, it's on him. But it goes in my report that there's tanks there. And I'm told that it's water and pesticide. Pesticide can be dangerous if you over pesticide an area. That is a possible reason why you might want to do phase 2. Because overuse of pesticides can cause massive contamination of the site. I want to get access to that. We've got buses, right? Pause it. that down there. Yeah, I have a feeling that he's not being honest. But it goes in the report, and it's up to the people to decide what to do about it. And if somebody's going to lie to me on a report, there's nothing I can do. I'm not a judge. I'm not a policeman. I'm just there to do a report on the possibility of contamination. Okay, let's build this way. Let's make this. Not all of that. This. Good, 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 good. And then we'll build this type. We've already got this here, so let's just continue down. Oh, let's do this. So we've got a curve here. It's not a perfect one-to-one difference. We wanted to cut down. Let's do the park. Let's do the dog park. Like puppies here. Small playground. Let's put a small playground here. We're not going to have access to water, but we do have places to put it. Ooh, you know what? We don't want this here. Let's change this. No. This neighborhood can walk down to the store. These houses will disappear. Cute little house. Oh, that one's even cute. Preserve. Cool looking rock. So yeah, situation at his place. I can't really do anything about it. It's not my job. I just make reports. I had times when I'd show up at a site and like people would be there and they'd be like, "You're trespassing," and I'd be like, "I ain't trespassing, I got permission to be here, buddy." And I did. I've never had the police call on me. I would always explain, what I'm there for. And usually pretty good about it. Like, oh, they're selling the property. And I'd be like, not any of my business. I have no idea. All I know is I'm here for phase 1, and whether they sell the property or not, I can't tell you. I have no idea. They're probably selling the property, or the phase 1 store. to them. Change hands. Be able to get water back. So yeah, I never had the police called on me, but I did go to places where people were like accusing me of theft or burglary or something like that, you know, neighbors or whatever, and I'd be like, I've got a camera here, it's a professional camera, I mean semi-professional, professional cameras are like $3,000. Semi-professional camera, I'm not just some dude off the street. I've got my hat from the company I work for. I had a jacket for the company I worked for, but I would usually leave it in the car, especially during summers. And if it was wintertime, I would be wearing a coat. I wouldn't be wearing a little jacket. But I would at least have the hat on. And so I'd say, I work for this company. I'm here to do phase 1. I'm just here to take pictures. You know, somebody wants to buy the property, I'm just here to take pictures. And people were pretty understanding, you know, they'd be like, oh, that's cool, are they selling the property? No idea. Not up to me. Probably. To be honest, probably. But, you know, again, it's my business. Can we build better? We cannot. It's still a ways away. There's an abandoned building in this area. I have a library, you know, go to the library, get some more there. I can't go to the university. How is our education doing? Elementary school. So we need another elementary school. Probably put up here eventually. High school's fine. Plenty of room there. Yeah. A lot of empty lots. A lot of people buying empty property, and they'd still do a phase 1 because always the banks want to know. They want to make sure that a site is not contaminated, because they're on the hook if it is. And if they don't do a phase 1 and they find contamination, that's on them. I went to there was a farm I went to. It was like in a family for generational farm, where I want to build that right there, but I've got that right there, so there's nothing I can do. But it'd be nice to have like a toll road going back this way, so that people wanting to get to the farm back there will have to. We're losing money again. So we're losing money. We do have water. We can build it this way. Let's do that right. Park there. Let's build a elementary school. Right there. Build that elementary school right there. So we won't build there. Losing money. I suck. It's because I want to get back here and start building the farms back there, and I'm not getting to it. I needed to get to it a lot. Talking too much. No. So yeah, I'd be out in the middle of like the West Desert sometimes. And it happened a few times. I'd be out in the West Desert, and I'd be examining a site, and like I remember one day I'm driving to this site, and it takes me like an hour and a half to drive out to this site to do a phase 1. And there are no aerial photographs of the area. There's no what's it called? No, there were aerial photographs. There were no what's it called? There were no phone directories because nobody had bothered building any houses or businesses out in the middle of the desert. But there were aerial photographs. There were a couple of houses out there back in ever since back in the 1930s. So there was a few houses back there. Still there, but for the most part it's just empty land. And they still made me do a phase 1. And I'm driving out there, hour and a half out, and I see this monument. And I pull over the car, and I get out of my car, and I look over, and this monument is there, and it says, on this site was a Pony Express station. It was a Pony Express station out in the middle of the freaking desert. And it was a Pony Express station, and then after it was a Pony Express station, it was a stage station. And then the stage station was later abandoned, and of course the only thing left is this monument. And there is nothing out there. It's in the middle of nowhere. I should drive out there and make a video of this Pony Express station in the middle of nowhere. And I'm driving out there. I'm driving out to this site, and I take pictures of it. And my conclusion was that nothing has been on this site ever. Like, as long as humanity has lived out in the Americas, the only thing out here were the Native Americans. And then no farmers were there. No houses, no buildings. There's a road, but the road is like 15 years old. It's not been there for very long. So other than the Native Americans, nobody was there. It was just empty lot. And so that goes in my report. Like, somebody paid for that. Paid for me to go out there. Of course, they're not going to do a phase 2. There's no reason for that. There's nothing there. But I was at a different site. I was at a farm. And this one was a farm for generations. Like, it goes back to 150 years, 160 years. It was a farm. And I show up at the site, and I'm expecting, like, I've done farms before. I've done lots of farms before. I show up at this site where this farm is, and there is, right out front, there's this, like, garage. Like a repair shop garage. It didn't show up on any of it wasn't on the phone directories. I mean, there were buildings, but when you see buildings on aerial photographs, you can only identify it from the roof. And the buildings look like farm buildings. And so I walk up to this garage, and there's a couple of guys out there, and I'm like, "Hi, buddy. I'm here for a phase 1. What the heck is this garage?" He goes, "Oh, this is just where my grandfather built this to repair the tractors." I was like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's not a business. You know, we just repair the tractors here." And I said, "Cool. Do you have like a underground storage tank for gasoline or anything?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we got one right here. It's been there 60, 70 years." And it's an underground tank, and then they had a smaller above ground tank for gasoline and diesel. And they had just put it there, and they had a pump. They had like a 1960s, 70s gas pump. It had a meter on it, but it didn't have a price on it because it was just this guy's private farm. You know, it was just his private farm, his own personal gas station that he built for his farm equipment. And I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. These guys are running a personal pump on the site, and they are spilling who knows what, God knows where. We can lower this down a little bit. About that thing out in the water. Spinning. I'm gonna almost entirely use the advanced wind turbines from now on until the end of time because they're like the best option. Let's build a walking tour. The library. From the library to the Japanese garden to into there. Is that a right one? Is it on this side? It's on this side. Walk around the town. We got a little walking. We want you to walk from the library to that Japanese garden, to the park, to these two parks. Just walk back to the library. It's a walking path. It's for exercise. It's dead. Oh crap. Let's well, we can't go. That's where we wanted to build the place, right? Yeah. 8,000, right? 8,000? Yeah. Ooh, that's good. Across the street. We got an intersection coming in right there, so we'll go across the intersection. About land. I'm gonna build. I know that was a lot of money, but we owe more money now. So yeah, these guys are spilling who knows what, God knows where. It was just awful. And that's probably a lot more common than people let on. And these were nice people, you know, they were selling their farm, essentially. I think it was a commercial thing that was going in, so they wanted to build like a commercial district, like a shopping center or office space or something like that. I don't think it was regular actually. But yeah, they're spilling who knows what, God knows where. There are 3 actually, so this is part of phase 1. There are 3 different levels of contamination at every site in the US. The levels are basically 0, 1, and 2. Or it's 1, 2, and 3. So it's 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So that's the different levels. Anything below a 1 is the amount of contamination on the site is anywhere from 0 to what's called de minimis. If you have somebody parking on the side of the road and oil from their car is dripping on the sidewalk or whatever, that's de minimis. That's not gonna cause any problems. That won't show up in a report. Well, it'll show up as de minimis. So I'll just put de minimis on the report. Nothing beyond that. Did we build a? Yeah, there it is. Sugoi, Sugoi! Elder care. Sugoi. So yeah, it goes in my report, but de minimis is still relevant. Sugoi, we're trying to build this. Yeah, we did, but we spent it to pay off our bills. Our debt. So that's 0 to 1 on a report. So little contamination that it's harmless. And then there is a higher level of contamination, which is 1 to 2. And that is that there's contamination on the site, but as long as the property stays basically the same, you can build on that site. So like if you have a gas station that's at level 1, or slightly above level 1, you can build a car wash on it, for example, because you haven't really changed the nature of the property too much. If you go to a car wash, you're going to expect to find chemicals, you're going to find things from cars, waste products, stuff like that. You're not going to be surprised if there's some oil on the property at a car wash. You can build another gas station. That's our graveyard. I see dead people! And I went to a couple of sites where we did a site report, and it turned out to be some contamination on the site, and there are number values. So the EPA gives you number values, and so we send the chemistry back to the chemistry lab, and we'll get numbers back. And when we go to the numbers, the EPA has, like, you can have this much name whatever. I mean, it's a whole bunch of ethylenes and triethylenes and a whole bunch of, you know, chemistry words. It's basically what it is different types of oil that have been broken down into different petroleum products, right? All those different petroleum products that are broken down at a site from the breakdown of oil and gas that has been left behind by a waste oil tank or a gasoline storage tank or something like that. It's going to break down into all sorts of different organic chemicals. And so you just look on the list, and it's a list, baby. It's like 200 different chemicals. And you just look down the list and you look for anything that's above the EPA standards. And there are 2 different standards. The first one is the level 1, and the second one is the level 2. And so you look at it, and if it's level 1 but it's not level 2, you put in the report that you found level 1 contamination on the site. But as long as the property is a warehouse, as long as it's a car wash, a gas station, maybe even office property, you're gonna get away with certain, you know, amounts of chemical. A lumber yard. You know, if you're working at a lumber yard and there's gasoline contamination on the site, you're not going to be too concerned about it if the contamination is minimal but not zero, basically. Not de minimis. That type of property can be built. And then the third level is 2 or above, and that is immediate hazard to human health and safety. That is, you clean this site up now. We don't care what the property is going to be. You clean it up now. That is a danger to people. Danger to the environment, danger to people, danger to pets and animals. You get rid of this now. And I have been at too many sites at level 2. Too many sites. It's sad. Like, I was at a site where it was a construction company on the site, and they had a gas. What else did we want to build other than this? We want to build back there. Where's our? There it is. Oh, that is 12,000. That already pay that off in a million years. It was a construction company. They had a gas tank for diesel fuel, and so they would load it up with diesel fuel, and then they would have all of their trucks drive by. There it is. 6-lane one-way road. I don't want 6 lanes. Is there a 4-lane one-way road? I mean, I'll do 6 if I have to. Monorail tracks, large avenue. I guess it's the 6-lane one-way road. Good deal. Let's do this. Turn around, cars. Look at them turn around. Oh, we gotta go back the other way. And that means we've got to change the junctions. So, yep, we want that. Yep, we want that. Yep, we want that. It already did it for us. We do not want that. We do not. No, we do want that. We don't want that. We want that. Perfect, perfect. Is that a major road? It is. Major road there. Good, good. I mean, it doesn't look great. Let's look at it. Come off the freeway. We've got a 6-lane one-way road. Let's do that. Go this direction. That'll keep traffic down for the people trying to get into the city. Because some of them want to go straight, some of them want to go left, some of them want to go right. We're trying to funnel in this freeway traffic so we don't build up a big, huge, There's one of these that is a off-ramp. No, I guess we don't. Oh, highway. That's one lane though, but they can come at it at higher speeds, right? Yeah. Pick up speed to get on the freeway. So it was a construction company. They had these big old giant tanks where they would fill up all of their construction equipment with diesel fuel. So they would fill it with diesel fuel, and then their trucks would come in all day and fill up, and then they would worry about it later. All of their stuff coming through. So they overfilled it. They pumped in too much diesel fuel. Somebody didn't check their meters, somebody wasn't paying attention, or they did it on purpose. It may have been deliberate. Maybe they were trying to save money on a number of trips. Whatever the case may be, they filled it with too much diesel fuel and it cracked the top of the tank. And when it cracked the top of that tank, diesel fuel started spewing out. Well, right next door to this construction company was an apartment complex. Brand new, spanking new, like 2-year-old apartment complex. And some guy's looking out of his window and he looks over and he goes, what in the crap is going on out there? So he calls up either the EPA, because he doesn't know who to call. I'm just guessing, I'm throwing out crap. I wouldn't know who to call, not until I had this job. Or he calls up the the people that are in charge of that for contamination or reports of that kind. Maybe even called the police. I have no idea who called, but it makes its way to the environmental agency for the state. The state environmental agency gets their hands on it, and they put it in the report. And I'm reading this report that these guys are spewing diesel fuel on the site, and so the EPA demands that they make a report and that they do a proper, basically a phase 2. They don't call it that, but that's basically what it is. And it's like we want you to look into the chemistry of the site, and we want you to look into the water and the soil to see if there's contamination at the site. And they self-report that the diesel fuel does not leave the plastic enclosure of the tanks. So there's a plastic enclosure. It's cement, like a swimming pool kind of cement, in the enclosure where the tanks are, and then it's covered in plastic. And they said that the diesel fuel didn't leave the plastic enclosure. And the EPA came back and they said, this is not what we asked for. We asked you to do a soil survey and a water survey of the site. Where is our soil and water survey of the site? So rather than give the EPA what they wanted, they sold the property. District, we're gonna call it Poplar Farms, baby. What? Maybe I have to hit enter instead of just exiting out. Here we go. And let's bring in, we've got the road there. Let's bring in dirt roads. Because we want our farms to look cool, right? We want it to be dirt roads. This isn't going to be contaminated, so it's pretty cool little, I mean, water towers and farms, man, water towers and farms. Of course we have to run electricity there, it's got a pump. So it can't just be water tower. So they sold the property. So here's this guy, rather than doing what the EPA told them to do, he starts selling the property. So the company hires us, and they're like, we don't even need a phase 1 at the property. We suspect that there's contamination there. We just want a phase 2. And we said, well, we can't do a phase 2 without a phase 1. And they agreed to that. We told them we would, you know, our company really wants that phase 1 because there could be other things on the site. We need to send somebody out there to take a look at it, right? We can't just trust what we see when we get there. We want to get a handle on it before we arrive. And so they agreed, and they were like, okay, yeah, send somebody. So farms don't produce contamination, so they're great. We've got 2 roads. This one's going to be finished once we finally get to our road that I wanted to build forever ago, but I'm going to build the farm first. So we show up at the site, I do a phase 1, and it's a construction company, right? I mean, there's nobody running it at the time because they're trying to sell it, so there's no trucks there at the time. But I look around, I mean, there's trucks there in the back. Nobody's driving, is what I mean. And of course I see the big towering outdoor tanks that they've got on the site, and I see a couple other little tanks, and there's like another long tank that you would expect also probably contains fuel that wasn't related to the two that had a spill, but there's a lot going on at this site. And right next door, like I said, there's an apartment complex. Right, brand new apartment complex right next door. And we do the phase 2 site assessment. We bring the geoprobe out. We come in and we drill down, and you can smell it when they pull the soil out. You can smell it, and it's coming out, and there's just black ooze. And I've seen black ooze at sites before. It's not a surprise. It's always awful when you see it. But we had decided to drill while we were on site. So I'm on site with the 2 drill guys. And I'm talking to them. I'm like, you know what? In this site, the water table is moving toward the northwest. And that's the direction of this apartment complex. I think we need another, because we're finding black ooze at the site everywhere we're checking. And I'm like, I think we need another hole up toward where those apartments are. We need to see if it's getting to those apartments. And as close to the edge of the property line that we could get with the geoprobe, we sunk another hole, and we're 8 feet down across the whole property. 8 feet down. It was diesel fuel 8 feet down at the whole property. And it's getting under those houses. So that was I mean, I didn't even need to do the chemistry, but we did the chemistry anyway. You know, we've got to have a report that's an accurate report. So we send the chemistry out to the chemistry lab, and it was like so bad. It was like 12 or 14 times the limit of what you're allowed at a site and being safe. So we had to report these guys, and we talked to the company. I called them up, talked to the company, and I'm like, hey guys, yeah, it's really bad. We've got a total, it's level 2. And they said, oh man, this is the first time we've had a level 2. We own the property next door. And he said, we didn't find contamination there when we did our survey 4 years ago. And I said, well, you probably better check it again, because there's a 0% chance that there's not diesel fuel underneath those apartments. And if people start getting sick, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So they agreed to it. Bad stuff, dude. Bad stuff. Lots of stories like that. Sorry to bum you out. It's a cool job. Like, I loved my job. I loved doing it. And that company I worked for was such a good company. I remember sitting down with my boss one day and telling him, you know, I'm worried. I'm writing these reports, and I'm concerned about what's going to happen when we hand it off to the company. And he says, our job, your only job, is to give accurate information to the client. That's your job. And he says, do not worry about the reports to the state environmental agencies. I'll do that. And he says, I'll report those when it's above a 2. I'll report those. So don't worry about that. That gets done. So I liked working for the guy. He was a great guy to work for. honest in his reports. I worked for another company after that. I left that company because there wasn't work coming in. We were a very small company. There was only like 8 people working for that company. It was a very small company. And he was getting arrested. Robert Finch, tourist, going to dog park. Tourist Robert Finch. It's not a walking path and he's driving. What a cheater! What a cheater! We need a lot of workers, unskilled laborers. That's because we need a bus station. Bus people up there. Right now they're just driving. I mean, they got this wide lane! Drive up there, guys! It's gonna work! Not one minute. Do they accept cards in the toll booth, or do I need to keep coins? So now people in the industry that want to avoid the traffic and driving through the city, because we're going to build the city up here, are going to have to pay a toll if they want to use that faster route. Expand this. Nope. Let's designate this as industrial. Policies. High ticket prices, prefer parks and maintenance booze, pet ban, detector. Why would people bring pets into an industrial zone? We don't need to worry about it. We will, however, put on a smoking ban. Non-residential, but for my own headcanon, I want a smoking ban in a place where you can start explosions. That's bad. Well, I'm getting hungry. It's getting a little bit on the day. I've been at this almost 2 hours. 2 hours. So this is our little hamlet. Paulette. My tattoo. I'm not an advocate. I like my tattoo. It's a very touching story. So I'm going to go ahead and save the game here. I'm going to save it as Paulette. Nope. We had Natsuha earlier. I'm going to do Paulette. Natsuha, of course, is from the same company. That's Monobeno. And Monobeno's going to bring change. It's very dreamlike. It's a very soft, dreamlike atmosphere, a very dreamlike visual novel. It's not difficult to read. There's no real difficult kanji or anything like that in it. No real difficult concepts in it. It's a regular read of a very dreamlike atmosphere. It was great. But my Tetsu is hopeful and sad. That's a good way to put it. It is hopeful and sad. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it. Hope you enjoyed listening to my long explanation of the job I used to have. I left the job, of course, because there was no work coming in because interest rates were high and a small company of 8 people. we only dealt with small companies, and small companies weren't investing in new properties because the interest rates were high. The large companies, they still build, they still are in construction and stuff like that, but they have deep pockets. They are not as affected by interest rates as the small companies, the small people that want to just do a small, little apartment complex or a grocery store on the corner of the property or something like that. Those guys weren't hiring us, and so my number of jobs per week just crashed after a while, and so I had to leave the company. Well, that's why I would have stayed there forever. It was a great company to work for. I loved them. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Have a groovy day. Bye-bye.